With the ongoing argument of all lives matter versus Black Lives Matter, crazy that we're still arguing this, we have an amazing guest today, and we're going to talk about why Black lives truly matter. Find out more coming up next. To the point, I'm your host, Eric Mitchell. It's Military Monday, so that means we have an amazing guest in store for you today. I'm excited to welcome our guest to the show today. Besides being a United States Marine, he's a good friend of mine. We've been talking since this whole Black Lives Matter process started. Now, it's an interesting argument as people have talked about Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter. A lot of our friends on the right, and including our own White House, continue to say that all lives matter. It's like saying all air matters, or on 9/11, all buildings matter. Come on, folks. Let's be adults here and realize that black people in our community, our black brothers and sisters, have felt racism and police profiling for hundreds of years. And it hasn't changed. It still continues to this day. As you'll hear me talk about on the show, I'll leave you with this question before we go to our guest. How many times have you turned on the news and heard the following phrase? An unarmed white man was killed by police today. If you're searching for that one, keep searching Google. You'll have a hard time finding that one. You won't. And that's why we're having these discussions. This is a very adult discussion, and I'm going to give you the warning before the show even starts. If you are offended easily about tough topics, this is not the show for you. No, go back and turn on a press conference with a dude who wants to wear a MAGA hat and tell you his 100-word vocabulary about how awesome he is. That's a show for you. Or go to another show that airs the same time as our show. You know, where they drink and do nothing but tell you how great the president is doing and how horrible everyone else is. Go tune into that trash. You can go there because this is serious. We have to make race relations in our country the right thing. As we saw in the 60s, they did a half-assed job. So what, you desegregated? Wow, you kind of dropped the ball in finishing all of the rest. Maybe it was presidents being presidential candidates being assassinated. I don't have the answer for you on that. But what I wanted to do was have another heart-to-heart with a good friend and United States Marine to be able to have a conversation. Now, my friend, Lechon Kirb, is coming on our show. He's an entrepreneur, a United States Marine. He's married. Yes, he is. And he's in an interracial relationship. He's dealt with racism his whole life. I want to sit down and ask the tough questions of him. What it means, because I don't understand. You could call it white privilege. I don't know. But these tough conversations have to be had. So let's get to the point with my good friend and United States Marine, Lechon Kirb.
Life Flip Media, the voice of the warrior class. Are you a veteran or patriotic business owner, author, musician, public speaker, or entrepreneur? Are you ready to take the next step towards success? Then look no further than Life Flip Media, the voice of the warrior class. Life Flip Media is the #1 veteran-owned PR firm in America. We use our mission-oriented approach to secure advertising and media exposure for your business, your brand, and your products. It's time to let Life Flip Media put you on the cutting edge of success. Life Flip Media, the voice of the warrior class.
And we're back. I always love Mondays, especially military Mondays, especially when I get to bring Marines on. I know, stop me if you've heard this before, everybody. You know Marines always end up on our show. I can't help it. It just happens. So today I get to bring on one of my favorite Marines. We've never met in person, but as you'll probably find out, Marines are unique. Once we start talking to each other, it's like we've known each other for years, because that's just how Marines are. I get to bring the one and the only Lechon Kirb onto our show. We're going to talk about a little bit of everything, because he covers a little bit of everything. It's Monday, We're going to talk about what he does for business, so you can obviously support his business, and those links will be in here, and obviously how to connect with him on social. But we're going to talk about what's going on, hot topic in our country. It should be talked about is Black Lives Matter and everything going. And Lechon, you have an interesting story to go with that, with your marriage. You probably feel it more than most of us in America. But before we get to that, let's just welcome you to the show, my friend. How you doing today?
Oh, man, Eric, thank you so much for having me on, brother. How are you?
It's wonderful, man. The sun is out. I'm wearing my mask out in public, and I don't mind it because I get to go to restaurants. I get to get my hair cut. I get to grocery. I don't have a problem with it. Other people apparently do, but...
Yeah, it's a strange time, dog. Strange time. Right? I've had one professional haircut over the last probably 4 months. I was kind of butchering my own hair for a little bit there, but as you can see,
it's on point, man.
Kind of letting it do its own thing.
I like it. See, I wish I could get that. Instead, I got balding. That's what.
Okay. Yeah, that's a thing. Yeah, man.
True story. Growing up in Florida, I always wanted to get I wanted dreads. I couldn't figure it out. Nobody broke it down to me that Irish kids can't do that because you see what I have. I got thin, shitty, curly hair. That shit didn't work. I always wanted to be cool, and then I tried to be like Bobby Brown and get the line carved in my head. Oh, dude, those are my prerogative days. Yeah.
Okay, it was like every little step.
Dude, I actually sang that song at my 8th grade graduation. No shit. I had the hammer pants,
really?
the shiny. Oh, I did, man. My mom will back that story up, right, Mom? Mom's watching. She'll back it up. Trust me. I did that song. So proud of myself. Every little step. I know the rap still.
That's a good jam.
Doesn't Mike Tyson show up in that video too, or is that the?
That's the spoof video, but I did see that. Yeah, they did like a spoof video years later or something where Mike Tyson's dancing horribly because he's not a good dancer. He's a damn good boxer, though.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk shit on his boxing. He can
he can have that.
Yeah, he can have that. May suck at dancing. He can whoop our ass in a heartbeat.
Yeah, man, he's a bad dude.
I love that dude. True story. That's what I did. So it's just pretty funny that.
He's actually about to break back into boxing.
He's like 50-something.
Working out. He looks ferocious right now. It's ridiculous. 50-something years old.
Him, you know who else could probably come back to sports? Because I saw him recently, and recently was a couple years ago, but he was badass, and I've heard he's the same. I just saw him do it the other day. Jerry Rice. Rice can still burn receivers, corners off the line. I watched him do it. The final game at Candlestick was a flag football game. Dude ran a post route and burned a kid who was like Ty Law, who's like super younger than him. Burned him. Like, smoked him off the line, and dude was like in his like early 50s at the time. And then I saw him just do it at a game the other last season because I'm a Niner fan, and of course we finally are good again. So he ran on the field and he just did a full wind sprint. Like, he still got it.
He's a full badass, 100%.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Remember that video of him running up those hills in San Francisco? You'd see him like sprinting up. You're like, dude, you're nuts running up this like vertical hill.
Don't remember that, but you know what? I do have a little bit of love for the 49ers because when I was young, actually, first of all, I grew up in Pittsburgh, and then my mom was an entrepreneur, and then she was also like working jobs and stuff like that. She got this opportunity to work in California on Aerojet's space missile program, right? So she moves out to California, and then we moved out there for a number of years, and the 49ers were the team out there at that point. So
Aerojet, were you in Rancho Cordova, Folsom? Where were you at?
I was out of Sacramento. I don't know exactly where her thing was, but yeah.
I know right where Aerojet is. Now all of a sudden this is going to get really goofy because Aerojet is like right, for the record, I grew up in Folsom, California. That's where I went to high school. Mad shout out to my alumni Folsom. But Aerojet is our neighbor, right? And I remember they used to test the shuttle rocket boosters there. So you could like hear them test. All of a sudden you'd hear this maddening sound. Folsom's not just a prison town that Johnny Cash sang about. And by the way, yes, until I moved there, I had no idea who Johnny Cash was. True story.
Really?
Yeah. I had no idea. I was like 14. Man, I was into like Too Short. Okay. I grew up listening to Two Live Crew because I grew up in Florida, right? Like Two Live Crew back in the day, like, dude. Everybody, like, we had, what was it? Governor Martinez wanted to ban Two Live Crew. You had all that noise out of southern Florida, and I listened to it because that was my jam. I mean, come on. In Florida, growing up, you had two ways of music you were listening to. Country or rap music. I wasn't into rock at the time. Now I kind of respect rock. I blame rock on the Marine Corps. I even know country music because of the Marine Corps.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
I mean, because rock is, like, always in the core. Like, you kind of just... You walk down the barracks and like Rage Against the Machine, F you, I won't do what you tell me.
All the badasses live, dude. That's you're running the rock. Of course you do. Man.
You have no choice. It's better than country music. Sorry, country fans. I'm just not going to agree with you. That's just not my scene. Country fans are like pissed off right now. They're like, man. Anyways, we can talk about music all day long. I want to jump into this. Obviously, unless you live somewhere that's not America, well, actually, everybody's doing it now. Black Lives Matter is a huge push here. I know. Which is good. Finally, I'm saying that as a white man in America. It's good to see this being brought to the forefront. As Montel, who was a guest a few weeks ago on our show and fellow Marine Corps vet, he talked about how this is 100 years going on, like hundreds of years, like 400 plus years of racism in our country that has been ignored, just largely ignored, and you feel it, right? I've told people on this show countless times, my experience with racism or anything like it was anytime that I had one of my buddies in the car and got pulled over, and it was carefully explained to me that the reason we were pulled over is because I had a black dude in my car and we looked suspicious. I don't know how a white dude driving a Buick Park Avenue looks suspicious. Trust me, that thing was like a grocery getter. Like, there's no way you're thinking that car. Like, we're suspicious.
Matter. By association, brother.
Right.
And to answer your question, yeah, I definitely feel it.
Yeah.
Always, pretty much my whole life, I felt it. You know, 'cause it's funny. I'll share the story with you because this is really, really recent. So the other day, me and my wife and the kids are watching the Netflix show, the 13th, right? Because we wanted them to really get immersed in some of the things that are happening. My one daughter is 12 and son is 17. Now, just to kind of create some context for you guys, I'm in an interracial marriage, so my wife is white, and those two kids are white as well. So they have a black stepdad, right? So, but they walk around kind of like every day oblivious to things that are going on, and you know, their mom is like, hey, I really want you guys to see this. And so my daughter is like, she gets about 5 minutes in, and she's like, I can't watch this. I don't know why you guys are having me watch this. I'm 12 years old. There's no reason why I should be looking at this. And, you know, I thought about it for a second because I got a little upset, and I had to check myself for why that was. And I realized that by 12 years old, I had already had guns in my face via police officers. You know, when I would wake up in the morning, instead of like hearing, you know, birds chirping, we would hear gunshots all the time and like people getting like rounded up. And I said that to her, and it really just kind of changed everything in that moment. She decided she was going to watch it. I wasn't going to make her, but it really dawned on me, like, she doesn't walk through any ounce of her life worrying about the color of her skin at all. And I had she didn't want to look at this like story about this happening to people versus like me even having those experiences at 12 years old. Yeah. Crazy town.
It is crazy, and it's funny that you bring up 13th because I found that to be a fabulous documentary. Our kids are a little bit older. Our oldest in the house is 16, almost 16, and our son is 13. And we made them both sit down and watch it. Number one, history books don't dive into civil rights in our country anymore. I don't know why.
No. Did they ever really?
I mean, well, they talk about Rosa Parks, but I think that's like, you know, here we go. There's civil rights in America. Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King. There you go. It's like
that was pretty much the education that I was given to.
Yeah, I mean, even me.
Literally, that was it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was into it. I mean, maybe it was the people I associated with, but I wanted to know more. I wanted to know about Martin Luther King. I really, to be brutally honest, I listened to Public Enemy a lot growing up, so I really got into Malcolm X. So I read all the books on Malcolm X because I just wanted to understand what, you know, he wasn't in the history books, and that's why I wanted to know more about, you know, Malcolm X and what he stood for. And I've always been a sports fan, so Muhammad Ali was somebody my grandfather used to talk about, and I was like, well, why did he change his name? Why did he go from Cassius Clay? Even Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, right? This movement, I wanted to know about it because I'm a sports fan, and liking the NBA like I do. As we all know, the NBA is very urban, right? When it comes to it, they're the ones that are like cutting edge. Like, they went from an all-white league to like now it's like everybody. And when you want to talk about a melting pot, we got Euros, we got everybody, and a lot of the people that, I mean, still to this day in my office as I look around, I mean, I got a picture of MJ all over the place. I love MJ. I mean, I've never looked at like like he's really good because he's a black guy. No, it's Michael effing Jordan. He's awesome.
He's the man.
Same like looking at Bird. Like, those guys never worried about the color. So, like, growing up, that was my way. And putting your kids in front of this TV, my son, he kind of suffered the same thing. Like, he's like, I don't get it. Like, My daughter was in tears. Like, oh my God, I can't believe.
Yeah, same.
She's like, I can't believe people weren't allowed to eat together. She's like, what kind of world do you live in where you can't even ride? Everybody's like, they don't go to the same schools. My daughter, 16, she was like gushing. I was crying too because it's stuff that you didn't see. And I've watched a lot of that, and I'm thankful. Thank you, Netflix. Matt out, sponsor our show. But Netflix has been good talking about a lot of things people didn't pay attention to. I'm a history buff, so I didn't know a lot about what Robert Kennedy was doing when it came to civil rights movement in the 60s, and how him and his brother were very key, and they were both killed tragically, but both were the first kind of presidents to sit there and go, okay, civil rights are out of control. This doesn't need to go. And they really were behind, helping Martin Luther King get everything out. So it's funny, here we are, 2020, 40 years have passed.
That's the weirdest thing about the whole thing is that people think of what happened with civil rights and all these things in the past as though it was such a long time ago. You got to figure, my dad is like 74, 75. When he was born, Hitler was still running wild. You know what I mean? It really was like the window is not that long ago. My mom has crazy stories about when she was coming up. It's just, it's literally not that long ago. And a lot of the things that were happening in the systems that, really fueled it and had these things in place still exist today. And they're very well oiled machines. They're working behind the scenes so well that most people don't even know that they exist. Yeah. People don't know that there are private prisons. People don't know that there's incentivized, things to go and get people and fill up those prisons. Like, they just don't know. Yeah. But these systems really allow for it to be, continue to go. Yeah. And then there's the perception of this all, right? Like the stories, the songs, all these books and things like that. They've really controlled the narrative of what it means to be black in America. Yeah. And that's the problem right there, is because people perceive people like me as a threat just by virtue of my face. Now I'm pretty threatening because, hey, I spent 8 years in the Marine Corps. I know quite a bit about self-defense and things like that. So maybe it's warranted. But if they don't know that about me, I'm not this guy who's like going to pounce on you or something like that. But that has never stopped cops from like arresting me or pouncing on me. Dude, I got to tell you, it was probably my first year in the Marine Corps. And I've had a million different run-ins with the cops, and I've never been a criminal, right? But doesn't matter. First year in the Marine Corps, I've been away, went to boot camp and all that whole thing. And, as soon as you get out, like many other young military people, they get a nice car if they can, and they drive it home and say, hey, look, Mama, I'm doing okay. And I drive in, I get my new truck, and I probably crossed the state line into Pennsylvania. And as soon as I got into my city, I got pulled over immediately. I got grabbed out of my car. They pulled me over, roughed me up, smashed my teeth off the windshield into the concrete, threw me in cuffs, threw me in the back of the vehicle. And then I asked, what's going on? What did I do? And they told me they did all of this because I robbed a bank in Chicago, and they're so happy that they finally apprehended me. And I'm like, what do you mean? I've never even been to Chicago. I'm 18 years old. I just came, like, I live on a military base as a Marine, and this is it literally changed my entire perception of what it meant to be, like, black in the military services even, because I always thought it was, like, this honorable thing, and I still do, but, like, it really messed with me, man.
Yeah. It's true. It's weird, and I talked with Montel about this. We were talking about, if you remember, the movie from the late 80s, Glory, right, with Denzel and the never-aging Morgan Freeman, who I swear looks the same as he did in that movie. He's amazing. You gotta love that man. Just, my kids are like, dude, does he ever age? I'm like, no. I think Morgan Freeman's like a robot. I'm pretty sure, because he's remarkable. I don't know, whatever happened to him in World War II, serving his country, whatever, it's caused him to always just age properly, and he's the voice of everything I do in my life. I wanted to be narrated by Morgan. But when you watch Glory, I remember that was like one of the first movies for me that became clear, hearing Denzel. I'm a huge Denzel fan. I know there's people cringing because Eric goes talking about Denzel again. But watching Denzel cry during...
Denzel's incredible.
Yeah, it was an amazing scene, and when you heard why he did it, and then start studying it. I love history. Like I've said over and over again, that's what I studied in college. I love history. I love learning about it because I think we learn from our mistakes. So that drives us to a different point. So you live in the South. You live in Florida, which I know Florida's like, we're not the South. Especially Central Florida's like, hell no, we are not attached to those people to the north. Those people at the border, they can...
We're like in the middle of the bottom of the South.
Yeah. You're part of like New York. I always say like Central Florida's like the annex of New York and New Jersey because that's where everybody goes. The Sunbirds come down there. So, we have a lot of interesting things happening, right? Across the South, we've had, the Confederate flag and every general. Now, for me, and let's talk about this, we were both served. I didn't join the Marine Corps nor care what base I was stationed at. I didn't know the history of it nor give two shits about it. Let's just be honest. I know the argument coming from our friends out of D.C. is we cannot rename Army bases from their racist generals' names because it's history, and those of us who serve, we do it for our bases.
Yeah, no. Not at all, never.
You were like, I'm going to give my life to Camp Lejeune.
No, that wasn't the case at all.
Okay, so make sure.
Matter of fact, like my whole perception of going to the military in general was what I believed I was doing was creating freedom and giving people access to freedom. And I thought that I was just doing something that was really uplifting my community. It wasn't until later that I started to kind of even question why recruiters are pouncing around in poor neighborhoods to like get people with no money in because everyone else is going to college. I went to college that first year, but then I just didn't have the money to continue, and so because I needed to figure out something to do, the military seemed like a viable option, and I wanted to be the freaking best. So of course I went to the Marines. Yeah. But anyways, bases. No, dude, I didn't care what base name it was and whatever. I just wanted to be a Marine.
Yeah. But remember, we got guys, and we're going to pick on him because we're Marines, and this is what Marines do. Sebastian Gorka, 2 weeks ago, said, General Mattis is a traitor to the Marine Corps.
Stop it.
I know, that's what I said. The dude never served, number one. He's English. He's from Wales, so I don't even know why he's got a horse in the race. But because he spoke one time at OCS, which does, by the way, going to OCS and speaking, that doesn't make you a Marine, just say. And by the way, in case you haven't heard the cadence, real Marines aren't made at Quantico, just so you're just perfectly aware of that. Real Marines are made at Parris Island and in San Diego, California. That's where we're made. That's where we're created. Officers, butter bars, love you, but real Marines were made at our boot camps. So anyways, Gorka goes on, and he, number one, he's a Trump guy. We all know that. He's got his lips firmly on the president's butt. It's disturbing to me that this guy comes out and says this, and people, it's funny. We're both Marines. In case people don't know that, we'll share it over and over again. But, the big thing is what the hell's wrong with people that they're just like, that's cool. Mattis 3 years ago was their hero, right? I mean, everybody who was a Trump guy was like, even me, who was like, I can support this. He's got Trump. He's got Mattis. He's got Kelly. Look at that. And Dunsford is the commandant. Woo, we're good. Everything's good. Marines are in charge. He's kind of an idiot, and Pence is an idiot. But at least there's Marines there, so shit'll get done.
He's got some support. Yeah.
Right? Like, smart people are there. Like, we're not going to just send people off to war just because. Well, that changed, right? I mean, Mattis is out. Now everybody hates Mattis. I mean, where do people get off telling us how bad Mattis is when he's really not? I mean, what's your thoughts on this pivot of our generals? Do you think our generals are wrong? I mean, all of them. Let's talk about all of them. It's not just Marine generals. It's everybody who we know, who we both served under, is talking.
Yeah, I mean, here's what I'll say. It really takes a unique, special kind of person to rise to general of anything, right? Especially in the U.S. military. And so I think with the amount of time that it takes to develop into that kind of individual, at the very least, it's worthwhile to hear what they have to say. And if they are in disagreement with you about something or a particular issue, then they likely have very good reasons that they can explain to you very eloquently. They're not dumb people. They're very experienced, and they're very battle-hardened. They've been through a lot of different things over a long period of time. These are some of the best humans walking the planet. Whether you agree with them or not, two different things, but they are the best. And that's why they get there. You could argue that there's politics involved and this and that, but like no one gets through 30 years of being in the Marine Corps on accident, and it's not easy. I can promise you that. And so just with that accomplishment alone, it's worthwhile to hear what they have to say. Yeah. And so I think it says a lot if these people are having very strong differences of opinion in regards to how we need to move forward in the country.
Absolutely. I mean, and it's goofy because we have so many things going on. When 2020 started, it was basic. I mean, we're all doing pretty good. Our businesses were killing it. I mean, I remember seeing you and your wife were on talking about all your webinars and courses we were launching, and then COVID-19 hit us. And then we thought that was okay. We were lied to about that clearly by, there's only 15 people sick and we'll be fine.
Yeah, about that.
It's like the 6,200 people who showed up at a rally. Whoopsie, maybe our count was off from the million we said were there. Things that are incorrect seem to happen often out of this White House. But it's funny, as we get through 2020, I want to go back. I want to stay on Black Lives Matter, because to me it's important. I keep hearing this debate. I saw it on TV as recently as last week with the vice president, and everybody's up in arms with all lives matter. I personally think saying all lives matter is like saying breathing air matters. It's like, no shit, Sherlock. It's like saying on 9/11 all buildings mattered. Like, well, it's no dumb it is. It's like, no, we've had racism in our country. Black people in America, black brothers and sisters, have faced racism from people who look like my ass for hundreds of years. Not just a little bit, but a lot. They're harassed. They're thrown in jail for no reason. And like one of the folks that one of my dear friends says, how many times have you seen or heard on the news police shoot and kill an unarmed white man? I dare you, please present it here in here. We want to see why we're on air. Please show the two of us this evidence of you seeing this happen, because you haven't. But you see it time and time again. We've seen it just even after we've seen Breonna Taylor, right? They finally fired the police officer. One of them. By the way, the other ones are still working. Finally fired him. Ahmaud Arbery. They finally brought those three. Finally, a grand jury. I don't even know what took this grand jury more than 5 minutes to say, okay, these three killed this dude. Like, it's clear. But again, it's Brunswick, Georgia. Clearly a racist community. Sorry, calling it like it is Brunswick. Then you have Rashard Brooks. Not leaving George Floyd out of this. But these are just some of the names. I mean, even in Orlando, out in Stanford, you had Trayvon Martin, right? He was killed for being none other than a black kid wearing a hoodie coming back from 7-Eleven. Because a white man with a gun felt threatened. And I don't get that. I don't know. If you could explain it to me, Lechon, I would love to hear how you intimidate me at all. I mean, granted, you're a Marine, I'm a Marine. And when you said, people are intimidating me because I'm black, I'm like, no, people are intimidated because they hear the title Marine. We know that. I mean, when people hear the title Air Force, they're not like, oh, shit. No, they see Marine, they're like, crap. I don't get it. And that's why I keep putting people on my show and I keep asking.
Yeah, this is why I think perception is so valuable. How we're described in media, how we're described in movies, how our music is interpreted. This all leads to how people perceive us before we even show up. Obviously there's a fear factor when it comes to this, and it is something to be addressed, obviously, because people are being killed. And, like you were saying with Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, 100%. Every life matters, and that's where I get where people are going with the argument. It's just that in that context, if you're going to say all lives matter or everyone's important, and you don't really live your life that way, and these systems that are oppressing these other people, like imagine if someone came from another country and they were treating our citizens this way. We would be at war. We would never allow anyone else to come in and treat us the way that everyday people like myself get treated just for looking a particular way. And now listen, I'm accomplished. I've done well for myself in the business. I've been to college. I'm a military vet. I'm a father. But when someone meets me in the street, I'm just a black guy that they need to protect themselves from. I've had on many occasions people walk up to my car and literally run. If I walk up by their car, they like lock the doors and like, I'm not some scary looking guy. I'm pretty well spoken. Yeah. And like I said, I've done okay for myself and all those kinds of things. But literally, I'm a black guy walking through life, and that's literally the perception, is someone to be feared or someone to be apprehended. Like, almost like this is a problem waiting to unveil itself, and you need to avoid this problem. And it's really a shame,
Yeah, it is. I mean, and then you add in that you are, you're in a biracial relationship too, which shouldn't, which again shouldn't mean effing thing. I sound Trumpy, but thing when I say it. But I mean, it's so true. I don't get it, right? Like, I know when we have our chats
weird.
In Messenger, I'm like, I don't get it because I don't look at people that way. But I mean, I'm the same person who celebrated the Supreme Court ruling that people, no matter what their gender are, can have jobs and can't be discriminated against. Again, why is it 2020? Why did it take till 2020 for NASCAR to lose the Confederate flag? Why did it take till 2020 for Aunt Jemima to go, maybe that's racist? Why is it now in 2020? Oh, we were racist, but not before. And people are so sensitive. Oh, it's our history. If I hear that one more time, I'm going to throw something. It's like, I don't want to see Confederate shit. I don't want it. It's not part of our history. Now, some of it, I think sometimes it gets taken overboard and we're pulling statues down that I'm like, okay, maybe not that one. To Confederacy, yank them all down, take that racist rag down because it doesn't. I've always felt that thing is racist as hell. I mean, anything the Klan is flying in the front, if it's next to a Nazi sign, it's racist.
Yeah.
Let's just go.
There's a reason why they make that association, and it's super weird in this country, right? Because if you look at what happened in Germany, and why they were able to really recover, it's because they completely and utterly denounce what happened at that time. There aren't any monuments to it. There isn't a celebration about it. And here, there is. And it's because so much of it was really covert. It happened in systems. It happened in redlining. It happened in all these, different things that have been subtle enough that they go under the radar of the general masses. Yeah. And impactful and negative enough that everyone else, it keeps them in line. Yeah. So it's really a strange time. I love that we're having these conversations though, because they're really, really valuable and they're far reaching. Like, I love that we're having these conversations. There should be, under no circumstances should we allow anyone that lives in this country to be treated in the ways that regular people that look like me are.
Absolutely.
And like, kids shouldn't be put in cages. Like, these are the reasons why I even went to the military. These kinds of things should never happen in this country, ever. And as long as we allow them to continue, it's just a matter of time before those things spill over into someone that you love, or into your community, or into how you want to live your way of life. So I'm a hard stand. That we don't allow those things to continue. If we know that they're impacting people, you can decide that you're not going to allow that to happen in your space. Yeah. And then there's things that you can do about it. So I like I said, I love that conversation because it keeps the energy flowing about, okay, well, reimagining how we can live together and what we can do to really make a difference from day to day with the people around us. Yeah. Like, it's not like black people are in all black communities. Now, there are some, right? But if you look at my community, my neighbor to my left is from Argentina. My neighbor to my right is white. I'm the black guy in the community. Maybe one of the few, but our community is just as black as ever because I'm here. Yeah. If I go outside, I'm still, subject to cop interference.
Yeah. Right. It's great that you say that because I want to continue these kind of conversations always with any of my guests. I think it's important to have it because I don't understand it. And if I don't understand something, I'm going to just continue picking at it till I comprehend it because there's people out there that stand by this all lives matter crap. There's people who stand out here who say anybody who's supporting Black Lives Matter, you're supporting a terrorist group or you have some political agenda, which I don't understand that either. I'm like, how is there a political agenda behind it? How about hundreds of years of racism? How about hundreds of years of profiling? How about you actually don't understand and you sit down and you shut up and you listen for a change instead of demanding that you're right or blaming something on an election? And I think the problem is, and I'm going to be honest here, and I'm probably going to lose supporters on this, I don't care. I think it starts at the top. It starts at the White House. There's been nothing done, nothing solid said since President Obama, and that's right, Trump supporters, just so you know, once you earn the title Marine or President, you don't lose it. just in case you forgot, I'm here to remind you. He's President Obama still, just like President Bush, President Clinton, President Carter. Just in case you're just play along. Just got to help you MAGA hat wearing people out. You guys get confused really easy, and I'm here to guide you along the way, pull you along. But I think people get confused because they blame everything on election, and this is what we're hearing. We're hearing Black Lives Matter is a hate group. We're seeing it over and over again, and now the difference is, and we stood in a protest 3 short weeks ago, a peaceful protest, and my kids experienced heckling by, of course, some white redneck in a truck driving by. Get a job! Stop kissing! Blah, blah, blah. And, of course, dropped the N-word and sped off. Because, of course, he wasn't going to stay around. He's like a keyboard commando. And a lot of the people there, it was a peaceful family protest. Like, who's driving by going, hey, I'm going to be racist right now. Like, this is the place. There's a 5-year-old right here. This is where we do it. But it was eye-opening for our kids to see this. And it just kind of drives me nuts that from leadership on down, we really don't have somebody stepping up and staking the space because we're being told Black Lives Matter is a terrorist group. They're the ones at war with the cops, or they're in cahoots with Antifa, or all this other crap. It's like, number one, don't compare Black Lives Matter to Antifa. Antifa is a terrorist group. We all can admit that. Black Lives Matter is talking about Black Lives Mattering. Finally, in America, we're going to start treating our black brothers and sisters, fellow Americans, not African Americans, because we're not going around going, I'm an Italian American. You sound like an idiot. If you're born here, your ass is, hold on, wait for it, American. I don't want anybody to be confused about this shit. If you're born here, you're American. Stop worrying about where your damn ancestors are from. Nobody gives two shits. Seriously, I don't care. I'm Irish, whatever the hell I am. I'm not sitting around caring because it doesn't make a difference to me. Yeah, my kids could do a history project on it, but at the end of the day, I was born here. I'm proud as hell that I'm an American. I know what a third world country is, just like you. We know how shitty it is. We don't want that. But we need to treat each other. Why is it so hard to ask to treat everybody right? And I don't know. I cringe. That's why I love having you on the show, because I'm like, look, I got my Marine on. We can have these tough topics and make people, I'm sure somebody's watching this cringing.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Some things are pretty cringeworthy.
Yeah.
And to kind of answer your question in regards to like things coming down from the top and all that, I think what it really comes down to is that there's real power with intentionality in words. Mm-hmm. If some bad interaction happens out, between a black guy and another black guy and someone gets killed, it's black on black crime. I've never heard white on white crime in my life, ever. And people get into altercations all the time that end up in deaths. But like, there's black on black crime, and there's all this, if a black guy kills someone, oh, he's a thug and he's a criminal and he's a whatever. And if a white guy does, he had some mental challenges and you knew from his history that, maybe he was upset. I just think the power of perception, and how it's created in the media and how it's being misused with our supposed leadership really makes an impact in this country. It controls how people see others in massive groups, right? And so it just kind of festers this energy around racism and all those kinds of things. It's really pretty bad. I mean, it says a lot when, so my wife is 43, going to be 44. She's gone her whole entire life believing that the police were here to save you and they're here to keep you safe. Whole entire life, until of course we get together. I went on a trip out in California, and I'd rented a car from Turo. We were going to take a trip from San Diego to LA. We're driving on the highway, and a wheel falls literally off the axle in the car. Car slams down in the highway, slides to a stop, and people called the police on us as though we committed a crime. And they came and apprehended us, threw us in the back of the car. Instead of keeping us safe or getting us to safety, they literally apprehended us like criminals. And we were there for like a while before they ever let us go. Like, dude grabs me up, stands me in the car, and it literally, she's a doctor, by the way. Yeah. She's like, what is happening? Like, why are they treating us like this? I'm like, well, you're with a black guy now. Welcome.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Here, welcome to the party. So I think that's a good pivot point. I do want to talk about what you two are doing. You have an amazing business that folks obviously should check out, because that's what we're doing here. It's not just about, I do love talking about current events and We clearly have, but before you go, I want to talk about a little bit about what you guys are doing. You offer amazing courses, have an amazing company, and like you said, your wife is awesome. I had the pleasure to meet her at Military Influencers Conference a couple years ago when it was, I think, in Orlando. You weren't there, were you? I don't think
I was there doing something probably, but I was definitely there.
I met a lot of people. I couldn't. I don't know. There was a lot of people there. Cortez did an amazing job with that conference, bringing it to Orlando. He needs to do that again. He needs to bring it to cool spots. He said San Antonio.
No, man. He went to San Antonio. Up with it. I think he's taking it back to Texas. But yeah, that's a great event for sure.
For sure. But no, I met her. So you guys have an amazing company. She's a great public speaker. We're hoping to get her on the show here soon. I know we're negotiating schedules, which is always fun. It's not negotiating her coming on. That's easy. It's just schedules. Everybody's busy, which is good. Yeah. Busy is good than not having time. And I know you're going to go on Twitch again and play Madden. And I was going to talk smack and try to play you in Madden, but I'm not good enough.
Don't do it, Doc.
Now, NBA 2K all day long. But
so first of all, thank you for the kind words, what you said about our business. For anyone that doesn't know, we have a business called Of Course, where we help purpose-driven entrepreneurs and individuals really take their knowledge base or skill set and turn them into more scalable digital products, which in translation means online courses and online memberships. So, and I really love that because for me, it's literally like taking the thing that you love or your legacy and sharing it with people and having that make money for you, which is just a really cool thing, you know. So we love it. It's a really great thing, and yeah, at this stage of my life, it's something I'm really honored to be a part of.
Awesome. So how do folks find out more about it? Like, where do they go? All that good stuff. Because we're going to have it all in the link below, but let's tell the folks that are listening live, we need to make sure that they know how to do that, because maybe they're like, hey, I want to check this out.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can visit our website. It's just called, of course, www.of-course.us. And you can learn everything that we do there. We run a pretty big, virtual summit called the Online Course Success Summit, where you learn everything about business, marketing fundamentals, Facebook ads, everything you would need to know to really be successful building your business online. So we're happy to share that with you guys if it's valuable to you.
Awesome. That is so good. See, you have an amazing business. Go check it out. You want to check it out, and when we bring his wife on, I promise, Carrie Wilson, you're going to enjoy watching her on our show too. She's, we'll give her a hard time about you being on the show. We'll talk about, getting arrested for the first time. I love what you said. That is so true about going through life thinking police officers are your best friend and they're here to protect you. And some people, we've learned that that's not so true. There's a lot of bad cops out there.
People.
There's a lot. There's a lot of bad people out there. Let's just face it. But we live in an interesting time where a lot of it's sugar-coated by the media. There's a lot of just, we'll talk about it here before we go. As you know, I'm pretty passionate about this young Army soldier. So they're soldiers. They're not Marines. Soldier that is missing. Has been missing since April 22nd. And it hasn't made the news. But I wonder if she was a blonde female or a white female, instead she's Latino, would that make the news? I always wonder these questions because I think it's a difference between, a lot of things out there. You see these stories, when do they make it? You don't see a lot of accidental cops kicking in doors. Let's kind of go on a rant here. How many cops do you hear knocking down white people's doors? Breonna Taylor.
I don't know a single person, but I know lots of black people.
Exactly. When you see it, you even have that case in Dallas, right? That white police officer came home, was tired, went to the wrong door in her own apartment complex and blasted somebody who was in his own apartment.
It's crazy.
You see that, but you don't see it anywhere else. So it's a weird world we live in. And, we're both in here on both different spectrums, right? I'm a white dude trying to understand it. And you're an awesome entrepreneur who's out here, who's, one of my good friends. And you're dealing with shit that I want to be able to explain to my kids why this happens. I don't know how to take it to my kids and go, I don't know why racism happens. I don't understand. I don't understand why people can't just get along. There's no reason to hate somebody for if you hate somebody for the color of your skin, you're a shallow piece of shit in my eyes. That's just my...
Yeah. I don't see a lot of value in it.
No, I don't see the wasting. Why? What does it do? To be judged by the color. I've never had to do that, so I don't understand. So I'm sitting here as a 44-year-old going, I don't know. Maybe Lechon could help me. I've asked Montel. He's gone through it. He suffered through it. It's such a typecast. And I agree. Hassan Mazan, who's on Netflix, I love him. I listen to his show every Sunday. He said something interesting. and we'll close with this because I love what he said. He talked about racism in our country, that we have no problem watching sports and worshiping Michael Jordan, LeBron James, you name it. Name a great black athlete, and everybody will worship them, right? Even Colin Kaepernick before Cap knelt, which, by the way, has nothing to do with the military, so stop trying to include the military and veterans in your damn need to, like, tell us, oh, he's disrespecting veterans. No, he's not. I'm not offended by Cap kneeling at all. If he wants to do, the man can do what he wants to do. He's a man, and he's an American. If he wants to kneel, he can kneel. He's not offending me. Is he offending you? Are you offended, Lechon?
Never.
Okay.
No.
Did you ever think he was doing it to piss off veterans?
No, 0%. I mean, he's a respectful guy.
Right.
You know, he's trying to call attention to something that needs to be talked about. I mean, there's a lot that might say that it's part of why we're talking about it today, and like the energy you have behind it.
It's funny how 3 years later it's a topic every day, right? It's an everyday topic, and now you have the NFL supporting him when they weren't supporting him. But again, to get back on what I was closing with was, racism in our country is funny. We'll look the other way when they're icons or athletes or somebody like that, the Denzels of the world, right? Oh, love him. But then you'll go out and you'll be a racist piece of crap. You won't have black friends. You won't talk to black. You won't even say it. Oh, those people, those guys, the Tucker Carlsons of the world that are offended, that want to go say black lives don't matter. Vice President Pence, I'm including your racist ass in this. Folks that have issues. It's funny. The same people who hate black people also hate the Pride movement. They don't want to see women in leadership. And I'm like, nope.
It's because hate's a frequency, You can take it across the board if you're in tune with the frequency of hate.
Sure.
I just think it's not valuable.
I love that. That's great. I love the frequency of hate, man. You're gonna MJ that one. That's your shot, man. You just pushed off Byron Russell and hit that jumper, baby. That's how we're gonna finish out. So I want to thank you. I love it, man. We're gonna have you back. I mean, I love shooting the shit with you. I love everything you're doing. I thank you for coming on and having this conversation. I know it could be uncomfortable for a lot of people to come on and talk about something I didn't go through being raised, right? When it comes to this white privilege thing that I hear, it's like, yeah, I had it, and I'm embarrassed I had it because I didn't know better, right? It's not my parents' fault. I'm not going to go blame my parents for not putting me in, I didn't have it, but I've seen it growing up. Felt it from having friends that I never looked at them like, oh my God, my friend's black. I don't think anybody does that. I don't think my kids do that as friends. They don't go judge. I mean, if you're judging your friends by the color of their skin, again, you are a shitty human being. If you're doing anything, but I think it's good for us to have this dialogue, to be able to sit here as two grown men, two Marines, having this conversation, and no one's offended. If you are offended by what we said, tell us what we said and why you want to know. If you have questions for either one of us that we can answer, we'll do it. We have no problem, and this is what we're here for. We need to have this discussion. It's 2020. It should have happened a long time ago. Shame on our ancestors for not talking about it. Shame on the generations before us for not making race, civil rights a huge thing. It's like in the 60s, they were like, hey, we made it so everybody can use the same bathroom and go to school together. We're good. I mean, that's what it feels like to me. Watching history, they're like, shit, we did the bare effing minimum. We're good. Black people, white people, everybody good now. We're good. And it's not that way. It's not been that way. The 90s should have been a scream, especially in the mid-90s with the Rodney King riots, the riots in 93. Nobody woke up to that. The racism that's been going on in sports. I mean, the fact that we have, 1-2 black coaches in the NFL? I mean, it's alarming. How many black owners do we have in the NFL? I mean, there's a lot of things. We talk about sports. There's still a lot of things in the world. Politics, too. I mean, we did good. We did get President Obama in office, which was great. I mean, he has a huge vocabulary. Thank God, because we've missed it for the last 3 years. Yeah. A guy who has 100-word vocabulary. I miss President Obama. He just wants to come back. I interviewed somebody earlier, and they said, God, never before have I been like, Daddy, please come home. We missed you. We don't like this babysitter. We want you back. We want the old babysitter back. We don't like this one. This one's crazy, and he's orange. So,
well, with that being said, man, thank you for the kind words and what you said. I definitely feel like this conversation is a valuable conversation to have. As far as I'm concerned in how I see things, everything that's happening in this country and all the things that we see that just weren't so great, there are now opportunities for us to say how it can go going forward. There are now opportunities for us to say, no, that's not really how we want to do life. That's not how we should treat humans. That's not how we want to do business. That's not how we want to look at our neighbors, and we really get to recreate what that should be like as we move forward. So thank you for having the conversation. Thank you for having me on. Yeah, I'm honored to be here, brother.
Heck yeah, well, we're going to have you back for sure. That's for darn sure. We'll have you back on another day. We'll talk about more. We'll deep dive into business. This one we got to talk about these tough subjects because it's fresh, it's there, and more people need to learn about it as more people tune in. And, mainstream media doesn't want to talk about it. They want to sugarcoat it and stay on the election. We can't do that. We got to keep what started the beginning of June. We got to keep that movement going. We need everybody to be a voice. I'm proud to see protests still going on today. That is a beautiful thing that they haven't stopped. People are like, they'll stop in 3 days like they did in Ferguson. Nope. People are like, hell no, you're not listening. You're not changing anything. The fact that people are still being unarmed, people are being shot. Well, he was sleeping in his car. I mean, I could go on. I mean, trust me, I could go on the Brooks situation for 100 years. That doesn't make sense. And we even had a police officer on our show, amazing SWAT officer, Stanley Campbell was out here, and he was like, I don't get it. 43 minutes he was questioned. You knew he was drunk. Put him in the back of your patrol car like a normal human. Why the hell, and that's coming from a black police officer, retired black police officer's like, I don't understand why they did that.
Don't get it at all.
It's clearly... It's an issue, and it's like Montel said when he was on. We need to reform our police, not defund them. We need police. Police are important, but we need to teach and weed out the crappy ones, the racist ones. Hello, racist cops. We're gonna find you. We will hunt you. I feel like we're in Taken. We're gonna find you and hunt you down. We're a man of many skills. I'm gonna get shit for this. This episode, they're gonna be like, "Damn it, Eric! Damn it, you're not supposed to say these things." But I want to thank you for joining us today. Hopefully you have yourself a great rest of the week. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be back after these messages. And that does it for today's episode of To The Point. It was been a great Military Monday with an amazing guest, Lechon Kirb. We want to thank Lechon for joining us today. As always, if you or someone you know should be a guest on our show, please give us an email at hello at tothepointtv.com. We'd love to meet with them and have them on the show so you could take them from emailing us to seeing them right here. Awesome. So also, we'd love it if you would give us a follow on our Twitter, which is at tothepointtv. Give us a tweet on Twitter. We'd love to see you there. And don't forget to give us a follow over on Instagram, also tothepointtv. We love our IG, and we'd love to see you on there and like and follow you also so we can see what you're doing out in the world. We'd love to support you like you support us. As always, give us a follow on Facebook and a like and share with your friends. And don't forget, I know you've seen it subliminally in your head. You know what I'm going to say. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button. That's right. Smash that subscribe button. Give it a like. Flick that bell. Ding. Flick that bell so you know when we drop our latest episode and segment. Reminder, To The Point airs weekdays at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. So it's pretty easy. You don't want to miss us. That's on Facebook and on YouTube. As always, we want to thank you all for tuning in so much. Big shout out to all our fans who support the show every day. You guys mean a lot to us. As always, I'm your host, Eric Mitchell. Be safe. Be strong. Be smart. And God bless America.
Let's get to the point.